Robb Stark was born 283 years after Aegon's conquest in the Tully Castle of Riverrun. From the very start, Maester Luwin was by his side. Robb stayed at Riverrun along with his mother Catelyn Stark while his father, Eddard, was fighting against the Mad King in the conflict known as Robert's Rebellion. When the war came to an end and Robert Baratheon sat the Iron Throne, Catelyn and Robb traveled to Winterfell. While he was born at Riverrun and had Tully features, Robb was raised at Winterfell and was raised a Stark. Eddard brought Jon Snow to Winterfell after the rebellion, and the two of them grew up together. Once they were old enough, Robb and Jon would play all over Winterfell, pretending to be heroes and knights. One time they gathered snow and created a massive pile on the top of Winterfell's gates. The Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, Corgyle, and some of his men came to Winterfell, and one of them saw the great pile that Robb and Jon had built. He promised not to tell anyone, and as the slowest of Eddard's household guards, Fat Tom, passed below the gates, they dumped the entire pile on top of him. In 289 AC, House Greyjoy rebelled against the Iron Throne, and after their defeat, Eddard brought a war to Winterfell. This ward was Prince Theon Greyjoy, and over many years, Theon, Robb, and Jon bonded. Once the boys could handle a blade, they would train together. Lord Eddard Stark executed a deserter of the Night's Watch named Gareth, bringing Robb and his brothers to watch. Afterwards, they came across a fallen stag, and nearby a dead direwolf. Robb Stark and his siblings each took direwolf pups, and Robb named his Greywind. When King Robert Baratheon and his court came to Winterfell, Robb dueled Prince Joffrey with wooden swords. Joffrey challenged Robb to duel with real swords, but Sir Roger Cassel forbade them, and was mocked by the Lannister retainers. After this event, Robb and Joffrey started to dislike one another. While at Winterfell, Jaime Lannister crippled Brandon Stark by pushing him out of one of Winterfell's towers. King Robert returned to King's Landing, and his new hand of a king, Lord Eddard Stark, went with him. Robb's uncle, Benjen Stark, traveled to the Wall, along with Tyrion Lannister and Jon Snow. Robb and Catelyn now ruled Winterfell, but soon after an assassin attempted to murder Bran, Lady Catelyn traveled to King's Landing, leaving Robb in charge of the castle. On his way back from Castle Black, Tyrion stopped at Winterfell to give Bran plans for a saddle he could use to ride horses with, even in his crippled state. Robb, Theon, and Brandon Stark tested this saddle in the Wolf's Wood. Osha the Wildling and two Night's Watch deserters named Stiv and Wallen were fleeing Mance Rayder and Castle Black, traveling as far south as south goes. Bran rode ahead and was captured by Osha and the others. Robb caught up quickly, cutting down Wallen. Stiv took Bran and put a blade to his throat, and Theon Greyjoy put an arrow in Stiv's back. Robb had Asha spared. In King's Landing, Lord Eddard Stark was arrested for treason. Robb had Maester Luwin call the banners, and the houses of the north joined forces at Winterfell. Not all of his father's bannermen fully accepted Robb's authority, because he was young and inexperienced. Eventually, however, they all fell in line. The northern host camped at Moat Cailin, where a Lannister spy was captured. Robb told the spy wrong information about his numbers, and sent him on his way. News soon arrived that Sir Jaime Lannister of the King's Guard had besieged Riverrun, and that Lord Tywin Lannister was coming north with a second Lannister army. Robb split his army, giving Lord Roose Bolton his footmen and sending him to fight Lord Tywin's army, while himself taking the horsemen and riding to Riverrun in order to lift the siege. To get to Riverrun, Robb had to pass the stronghold of House Frey, known as the Twins. The price for crossing the Twins was large, and included a marriage contract. Robb had to marry a Frey after the war was done. Robb agreed, and Lord Walder gave him control over the entire Frey force. With the help of his great-uncle, Sir Brynden Tully, Jaime Lannister's army was taken completely by surprise by Robb in the Whispering Wood. Thorin and Eddard Karstark were slain by the Kingslayer, but the Lannisters' army was destroyed, and Sir Jaime was captured. After the Whispering Wood, Robb's army moved on Riverrun. The Lannister forces besieging the castle were scattered, and Robb's second battle was won. Lord Roose Bolton did not do as well, and his army was defeated by Lord Tywin Lannister. However, with Jaime's forces defeated and scattered, Tywin was forced to retreat and hold Harrenhal. In King's Landing, King Joffrey had Lord Eddard Stark executed, and with it executing any hopes of peace between the Lannisters and the Starks. At Riverrun, the place of his birth, Robb was named King in the North by his bannermen, and titled King of a Trident by the Riverlords. Still at Riverrun, Robb had Theon Greyjoy sent to Pike to secure an alliance with his father, Balon Greyjoy, in exchange for helping the Starks fight the Lannisters. Balon would once again be named king. Instead of allying with King Robb Stark, Balon ordered an Ironborn invasion of the North. Catelyn Stark traveled south to treat with King Robert's younger brother, King Renly. Catelyn couldn't secure any treaty with King Renly, nor King Stannis, who was laying siege to Renly's castle of Storm's End. In the Westerlands, Stafford Lannister was raising a new Lannister army to replace the one lost by Sir Jaime, and Robb decided to ride west to destroy this new army before it was fully assembled and trained. Robb's direwolf, Greywind, discovered a goat track, which went around the Golden Tooth, and the Northmen used it to get into the Westerlands. At the Battle of Oxcross, King Robb's army destroyed Stafford Lannister's forces, and the Northern army plundered parts of the Westerlands. Many castles were captured, including the seat of House Marbrand, called Ashmark. Robb's army, mostly mounted and loaded with plunder, moved on the crag, which was a castle of House Westerling. Sir Rolf Spicer was in charge of defending the castle, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. By the darkness of night, Robb led his men in storming the walls. Small John Umber and Black Walder Frey led men in scaling the walls, while Robb broke the main gate using a ram. As Robb charged in, he was struck by an arrow, falling wounded in battle. His direwolf Greywind killed one of the defenders. The wounded king could no longer continue his campaign, and stayed at the crag while he healed. Sir Rolf and Cybele Westerling had Jane Westerling nurse Robb back to health. Robb Stark received a raven from Winterfell about the death of Bran and Rickon Stark by the hand of Theon Greyjoy, and the fall of the castle to the Ironborn. The king in the north fell into grief and was comforted by Jane. Breaking his deal with Lord Walder Frey, Robb married Jane at the crag. The Freys that had rode with Robb into the Westerlands were furious, leaving Robb's war camp. Jane's younger brother Rolam Westerling became Robb's new squire, and her brother Sir Reynold became friends with Robb. Once Robb was fully healed, his northern army traveled east, back to Riverrun. Lady Catelyn was horrified upon learning that Robb had married Jane, knowing Lord Walder would never take this lightly. The Northern King's military campaign was now at risk. With the Frey army leaving Robb's hosts, he was now lacking manpower. Sir Edmure Tully fought Lord Tywin's army at the Red Fork, near Riverrun, pushing this back. This move by Edmure ruined Robb's plan to lead Tywin's army west, away from King's Landing, so that Stannis could take the city. Now King Stannis was defeated at the Blackwater, and the Lannisters could focus fully on Robb. Furthermore, Robb found out that his mother, Lady Catelyn Stark, had released the Kingslayer in the hopes that he would travel to King's Landing and return Sansa and Arya to her. Lord Rickard Karstark fell into a rage after hearing this, demanding Jaime's capture for the deaths of his sons at the Whispering Wood. Karstark sent his cavalry to capture Jaime and lead a group of men to the tower at Riverrun. This tower contained the prisoners Willem Lannister and Tyon Frey, and Lord Rickard Karstark murdered them both. Not listening to the counsel of his bannermen, King Robb executed Lord Karstark for treason. The Karstark horsemen trampled Robb's banners in the courtyard of Riverrun before leaving. Some Karstark infantry remained in the west, the ones that were in service of Lord Bolton. The Northern army, now crippled with a lack of men, planned on returning north to defeat the Ironborn armies and retake their lands. Robb knew he still needed Lord Walder to cross the Twins, and spoke with the now Lord Edmure, and planned to have him marry one of Walder's daughters in his place. Lord Edmure agreed to marry Rosalind Frey, and after saying farewell to Jane at Riverrun, Robb traveled north once more. At Hag's Mire, Robb made plans for the heir to Winterfell and the House Stark. If Robb were to die, Winterfell would go to the husband of his sister Sansa, Tyrion Lannister. Lady Catelyn suggested that Jon Snow should be named heir to Winterfell. Mage Mormont and Galbert Glover were sent north to Greywater Watch in order to have Howland Reed provide safe passage through the Neck and take the Ironborn garrison at Moat Cailin by surprise. Catelyn Stark, Edmure Tully, Mage Mormont, Galbert Glover, Jason Mallister, and Greyjohn Umber all witnessed the naming of King Robb Stark's heir, but the name of his successor had not been revealed. The tired Northern army, after many battles won and many castles taken, laden with plunder from the Westerlands, now arrived at the Twins. Greywind had been aggressive to some Freys and was locked up in a pen. Apologizing to Lord Walder for breaking his deal, Robb took salt and bread, which gave him guest rights. Lord Walder accepted the apology and presented the beautiful Rosalind Frey to Lord Edmure. During the wedding feast, the Freys attacked the northern host along with the Bolton Turncloaks and the Karstark traders. Most of Robb's companions and the army were slaughtered. Roose Bolton plunged his dagger into Robb's heart, ending the reign of the Northern King. Catelyn Stark killed Walder Frey's Lackwood grandson Jinglebell before having her throat slit open. The direwolf Greywind was killed with bolts from Frey crossbows. Greywind's head was removed and sewed onto the body of Robb and paraded through the war camp. The Freys traveled to White Harbor, telling Lord Wyman Manderley that Sir Titus Frey, Sir Gars Goodbrook, and Sir Wendell Manderley were slain by Robb, who had turned into a wolf. Lord Wyman assured Sir Davos Seaworth that he did not believe his tale, and tasked Sir Davos with finding Prince Rickon Stark, the heir to Winterfell. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like and share it with your friends. If you want to be notified whenever I upload new content, subscribe to this channel. I have been Maester Atale, and I hope to see you next time.